I'm Pete Hendricks. Welcome to Pete's Blade Room. Many say that you can't get a good USA made knife for under $75 to $100. It's time to bust this myth. I have knives from all over the world. I love all of them. I also want to support manufacturing in the US. This is the first in a series of knife reviews with less expensive made in the USA knives that are competitive with anything in the world. And in my view, I own a small manufacturing company, so made in the US matters to me. I think the way to support made in the US is to purchase products where the company is making them and they're competitive with they're competitive in the world market. I know this is a touchy subject. Also, I think that I hate to see comments on Midway or other websites where folks are slamming them for selling products that aren't made in the U.S. And that I don't think helps us achieve what we need. I think that, wanting to buy made in the U.S. is really about supporting jobs. And when you look at the retailers who are selling products, from other countries, I think what they are doing is supporting job growth because a lot of people want those imported knives. Okay, let me show you how these knives take a great edge before I start cutting stuff with them. Cutting paper towels is not an easy task for knives. So you can see it got that cut started. It's just cutting right on down through there. It takes an edge to be able to do that. Today, we're looking at the Buck 284 BBW. Smoky Mountain Knife has them for $19.99. It's the smallest in the 3-knife Buck Bantam series. All are the same other than size. The largest has a 3 3/4 inch blade, which is just like the Buck 110, though with a felt weight of 3.2 ounces and a price under $28. But coming back to today's knife, the 284 BBW. This blade is 2.75 inches, the closed length is 3.75 inches, and it tips the scales at 1.5 ounces. The scales are black glass reinforced nylon. They and the knife as a whole feel very solid. As well, all of the Bantam knives offer 2 different camo patterns in addition to black. I want you to leave this video knowing whether there's a good fit with this knife and yourself. So first, let me show you, I wear gloves. Medium gloves are tight or snug on my hand. Large gloves have a roomy fit, and most men in the US are going to be wearing either medium or large gloves. So you can see it's not a huge knife, but it really feels good in my hands. And when I go to cut, what I do is I get 3.5 full fingers and half of the pinky. And so maybe that pinky comes off the end and maybe it doesn't. It depends on how I'm gripping it at the moment. But this is very comfortable to me. I think the ergonomics on this blade are good. And I have to say, I'm impressed that a USA company has been able to come out with a knife that is this quality level at the price that they have. Okay, so once again, you can see it there. I just think this is a great knife. I tend to go for smaller knives, the smallest knife that will do what I want, because I appreciate having more control. And in the way I use knives, I do a fair amount of fairly close cutting, and so I want to be able to definitely want to be able to manage the knife. So let's Let's see what else we have here. One thing that I like about this knife and its size is it's very comfortable to carry in gym shorts, and it would also be very good for, slacks or dress pants. It's just not that big. It disappears in the pocket. Now, a lot of people like fidget factor, and this is not your fidget factor knife. It's when I bought it, it was pretty tight, and I had to work it back, oiled it and worked it back and forth, and so there's no problem with one hand opening. But the fidgetiness, it's not going to be doing that, and really we don't want it to, because it doesn't have a pocket clip, so it may be free in your pocket, and you certainly don't want it to come open, and I don't think it will, like this. I don't do a lot of fidgeting, so my demonstrations may be a little more clumsy than those who have practiced, but it's not hard to get it open. And I usually just do the pinch open, and it works great there. This knife takes a wicked edge, and I already showed you, that video of the cutting. This knife has the classic spear point blade that started with the Buck 110. It seems to me that this blade type excels with tougher uses that you experience outdoors. It cuts cardboard with no problem, though not as well as some other blade types. It makes perfect sense that it excels with outdoor tasks, considering that the original, the Buck 110, is a folding hunter, and we all know how much those knives have been used outdoors. So let's take a look at using it. Here I'm breaking down a cardboard box so that it can be folded and discarded into the trash. Then I'm also showing where I'm shredding some cardboard with it, and it does fine. It is not what you do all day, but it does fine. Now, this stick that I'm whittling on, my grandfather harvested that walnut in probably the 1940s or 1950s. So it's been drying for a long time. Unfortunately, some termites got into it when it wasn't being looked after. And what I'm working with today is what was so hard that the termites couldn't eat it. And so if you see that it looks like I'm struggling a little bit, that wood is hard. And I got the wood for the reason of checking to see if some less expensive knife steels will chip or have problems with a really hard substance like this, and if so, I'll report that. So that stick, I'm going to call it my walking tall stick. I wouldn't probably use that for defense, but I think it'd be cool to talk about with my buddies. Finally, I show cutting some Sisal rope. I was surprised it didn't cut the Sisal rope easily, but Sisal is not like other ropes. Sisal is hard to cut with a knife, and that's why a lot of people, when they're doing edge retention testing, and so it did cut it, but not as easily. So coming back, it's great for the Amazon boxes in general use, great for hard jobs here and there. Most folks don't use a knife for a specific task all day long. It's an Amazon box here, packaging straps there, using it on food. This knife is perfect for that type of use. I think it's tough enough to handle more, though tougher use with a smaller blade isn't comfortable for my hands over time. The blade steel. This blade is made from Buck's 420HC with Buck's Boss heat treatment. And some of you may or may not know the story. An early employee at Buck was in high school in shop class and made a knife and was doing a project for heat treatment, and it didn't go as well as he wanted, and then he got a low grade. And what that experience did was motivate him that he was going to learn how to heat treat. He was going to figure it out. And that began the journey that has resulted in the legendary Boss heat treating facility that Buck Knife has. Anything less than particle metallurgy is often looked down upon in today's market. Let me show you why I disagree. While not an edge retention king, it has very reasonable edge retention. You can see in this picture below how much cardboard I was able to cut and how much sisal I was able to cut before it needed attention. Now, note how thinly most of those cardboard strips are. Based on this, I would expect the edge retention to be fine for many applications. I was able to restore it to paper towel cutting sharpness with stropping only. And I feel good about that because there aren't good, inexpensive sharpening options. And stropping can be less expensive. So let's look at the strengths of this knife. A quality USA made knife for under 20 bucks. Ergonomics are great for my hand. Small and light enough for gym shorts and slacks. Build quality and fit and finish are excellent, though the blade is slightly off center, which to me, that's a small price. Given everything else, it works just fine. It is well designed. No pocket clip to be uncomfortable when you're using it. So now let's go to the trade-offs, or I hate to call them weaknesses, because when you're manufacturing and hitting a price point, there are always some trade-offs. The edge retention is solid, though not matching particle metallurgy. I'll also say that Buck's 420HC is comparable to 14C28, which is getting more respect these days, according to Dr. Laren Thomas's testing and research. They do have some sub 100 knives. They don't retail for under 100, but they're selling for under that, that have the advanced particle metallurgy. They have 3 knives that are made with the S35VN steel for the blades. They're larger. They're not as small as this one. Here's a slide showing the 3 different models, and you can stop the video and jot it down if you're interested in that, and I'll put it in the notes. But S35VN for sub 100, that's pretty darn good, especially with USA made. You just have to shop around to see who's selling them at that price. This model does not have a pocket clip for those wanting one. The larger models do. So, the pocket clip was both in the strengths and in the drawbacks or trade-offs or whatever. The larger ones do, however. This model may be too small for hands that wear extra large or larger gloves. This model is more of a worker and less of a looker, though it looks fine compared to other knives with scales made from similar materials. In summary, this is a great knife at a reasonable price to support USA-made manufacturing. You won't need to get upset if something happens to it at the $19.99 price point. This knife packs ability to work hard in a small package. I think that it is, as I mentioned, it's capable of doing harder jobs. Look at how I was whacking on that hard stick with it. It's just you have to look at how much you're going to be doing those type tasks and whether the knife will be comfortable in your hand for that amount of time. In my view, the ergonomics are perfect for medium and large size hands. Of course, personal preferences vary. I think I mentioned that it will work well in gym shorts and slacks, and that pretty much covers it. Thank you for joining us today. We would certainly appreciate likes and subscribes. Until next time, this is Pete. Thank you.